So I got here about 5 till 11, and the room was completely empty. And I said to myself, wow, did everybody leave early for spring break? Not that I would have blamed you. I mean, um, a 4 day spring break is a bit sparse, right? All right, so here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to start with fulfilling my promise. You showed up today. You get the mathematical inductive formula for maximizing your possibilities of true marital bliss of marrying your actual soulmate. What other class can promise you that? That should take about half the hour. And then we will dive into propositional logic, chapter 6, which from here on out, every session is going to build on the previous session. So we're going to get into some deep waters here. So don't fall asleep. Don't miss class. And right now the live stream is malfunctioning too. For some reason, I can only get this camera, so they're getting a very nice view of. Oh, maybe I can do this. Oh, let me see if I can get that to work. Didn't know it turned. See the things you learn? All right, what is this? Huh. And can I turn this? All right, well, I guess that's more interesting than just the view of the desk. You can see me standing sideways. All right. We'll work with it for now. Eventually, someone will fix this. There's an old saying, to err is human, but to really foul things up requires technology. All right, so here. Let's get to the meat of things. What's really important? Can logic help us find the best mate? Let's make some assumptions here. For math, we always need to stipulate some assumptions. Let's assume that over the course of your life, you would have 11 opportunities to marry. Now, before you say, no way, what I don't mean is that you're going to have actually 11 proposals, but that you're going to have opportunities to pursue 11 relationships if you are open to them, if you are on the market, as they say, long term, that would result in marriage if you pursued it to that end. And most of these relationships never actually result in marriage or proposals because you shut them down. When you shut them down before they get to that stage, you just say, nah, the chemistry's not there, or it isn't right, or we're not compatible, or I have to wash my hair on Friday, or whatever excuse you like to give. It's not me, it's not you, it's me. It's not me, it's you. Well, by the end of this lecture, I will give you a new breakup line. It's not me, and it's not you. It's just the math. Sorry, nothing personal. It's just the logic. So what can we do to maximize our chances of marrying the best person out of this group? And here's the bad news. If you just pick one at random, or the one that comes along at the right age, which frankly is what a lot of people do, you have a 9% chance of making the right decision, of marrying the best person out of this group for you. 9% is your sort of prior chance at marital bliss. So, let's see if we can do better than that. The good news is you can do better than that. There is a formula that will quadruple your odds of approximately of marrying the best person out of the 11 for you. And as a second bonus, it gives you a very high probability of avoiding the worst half of the possible matches. So, I'm not going to oversell this. It's not guaranteeing what is bliss. It just quadruples your chances at what is bliss and rules out the real losers. So it's got some things to say for it. So what can inductive reasoning do for us? Here is the optimal formula. I need like some good background music, something transcendent, something profound. Here's what you need to do. You need to calibrate your expectations of what a good match for you looks like by exposure to 37% of your total possible mates. So you need to date, but then reject the first 37% of your possible mates, about 4 out of the 11. So here's your breakup line. It's not me for those first 4. It's not you. It's not me. It's just the math. It's just the logic, the inductive reasoning of it. So you have to date and then reject the first 4 out of the 11. After that, then you want to marry the first person you date who is better than the people from the initial sample, from the first 37%. And if you follow this advice, it increases your odds of successfully marrying the best of your opportunities. And that comes out to 36 to 37%, approximately quadruple the odds that you would have married the best one randomly. And as a bonus, it makes sure that you won't marry a particularly bad match relative to the quality of the general pool of your suitors. So, if the whole pool's bad suitors, well, that's not logic's fault. We can't do anything about that. Impressions. What do you think? Should we all sign up for this? What do you think? Yeah, you really you see the biggest problem here. If one of the first 4 is your best option, you will reject them arbitrarily. But that's not the word. That's not all. What else happens is that you calibrated your expectations too high, and what happens? You will reject everyone who's no longer meet your standards, and then you'll die alone. Hopefully at a ripe old age, but free of wedding bliss. So that is definitely the biggest danger, and I do not deny that. And let me be honest, in the game of love and romance, speaking as a guy who's written 2 books about love, there is no foolproof strategy that guarantees that nothing can go wrong. So I'm not selling you that. I'm only selling you a 37% chance of wedding bliss. So, but you're right. That's the downside. Other reactions to this. What sounds right? What sounds wrong? What sounds wise? What sounds hopeful? What sounds scary about this? Just the way you would go about your normal relational dating life. I don't know where people meet today. Is it Tinder? Is it church? Is it work? Is it your hall? Oh, lots of people still meet at church. But perhaps that's not where you would meet your people. But the sports teams, the sororities, the fraternities, whatever floats your boat. The coloring club. I have no idea. Don't ask me. I haven't been on a first date in like 25 years. So that's one of the advantages of but other thoughts on the formula. Good. So one of the problems is this. If your best person is one of the last people in the pool, this formula might still get you the wedded bliss, but you might be like 50 or 60 when you get it. Hey, I'm a romantic streak in me, but even I have to say, gee, would I rather marry the second best person in the world for me at 22 or marry the absolute best person for me at 60? I'd probably go for the 22. I mean, because that's a lot of life alone. And here's another thing: if you marry the second best person, you don't know they're the second best person because you never date the best person. And hopefully, so yeah, there's some drawbacks to this this formula. All right, so here's the bad news. And as has already been pointed out, the biggest risk is you reject your best suitor arbitrarily because they were in the initial 37%. And this sets your expectations unrealistically high, and you never marry. So that's not great. Next biggest risk, you might have a bad overall pool of suitors. So if your general pool of potential spouses is bad, this formula can only succeed in getting you the best bad suitor that you have. So if the best out of the 11 is still quite bad, this doesn't fix that. So that's a potential problem. And I hate to bring up 4.3. So few people in our culture bring up 4.3. For some of us, the problem in all of our relationships is us, ourselves. And some of us tend to sabotage or undermine any relationship we're in. And we got to work on this a little bit before we can have a healthy, positive relationship. And again, logic, math, inductive reasoning will not protect you from yourself. Or to say it differently, the common factor of all of your failures, romantic and otherwise, is you. Whew. All right, well, that's a bit of a downer. On that note, but hey, tell you what. I hold, let's illustrate this. I hold in my hands 11 playing cards representing 11 possible suitors in hearts, of course. Although if I wanted a St. Patrick's Day theme, I could have gone for like clovers or something, clubs. The goal of the game is, of course, to get a high card, ace high. If you get the ace, you've got the best suitor. Get the king, you did okay, second best. You don't want to end up with a 2 or a 3, which is never a good thing. Can I get a victim, I mean a volunteer, to play the relationship game and attempt to see if they can end up with the best of possible suitors by using the mathematical inductive formula that I've given you for true love. And I will even sanitize my hands. All right, come on up to the foot of the stage and we shall play. Or you can come around on the stage, whatever you want. 11 people do it. So we can have one and we can have her on one side and 11 on the other. No, that's too involved and yeah, I can't keep track of other people. You are on stage. So this is what I see all the time.
So I'll be on YouTube?
Yes, if you look at that camera, you'll be sideways on YouTube. So it would be like we're dancing on the ceiling. Or actually walking. It actually looks like that Batman walk in that classic Adam West, like walking. Yeah, you feel powerful, you can blind by the light.
Yeah.
You see, I made the guy put a warning strip of tape, so don't step past the warning strip, that would be bad. All right, so we have not rigged this game. I have not approached you before and bribed you in any way, right? All right, good. All right, so I have here 11 cards. So I want you to pick one, and this will be your first suitor, and you're going to reject and break this person's heart. Yes, remember, we have to date 4 people, and you have to reject them. So pick one. Uh-oh. Ooh, so in high school, to the prom, she took a wonderful person, but it was high school, it was too soon, and what did you do? Yeah, you broke up with them, so there they go. High school, oh well. So what year are you here at CND? Freshman, okay, so this, all right, so this next one can be the person you dated at the end of your freshman year. Oh, okay, so this can be the person you just got out of the relationship with. Perfect. Oh. You sure you made the right? You sure you made the right call on that one? All right, well, this one's just theoretical. That's the one that you'll date later this year. Not all right. All right, well, maybe towards the later in college. Yeah. We'll consider. So this. Hey, law school, we'll get to law school. This one later, college, junior, senior year. Let's see who you end up dating and whose heart you're gonna break. All right, so this one, good job. You kick this one to the curb quick, right? Yeah, no, you don't want to give that one the time of day. You can do better than a 3. So you're going to law school. All right, so you'll be around lawyers and lots of powerful people, lots of rich people trying to hire you. So not in law school so much, but let's see who you meet in law school. One more heart to break. A 7. So okay, it's 7. It was fun while it lasted, right? You know, nothing special, but okay. All right. Now does anyone? Now I bet you know the significance of what's happened. Tell me the significance of what's going to happen next.
Well, the Ace is still in.
So she still has the best time, and what else? She's already picked the king and queen, so her standards are going to be really high. But the ace is still in the deck, so she's going to win this game. It's just a question of when. So here, the very end of law school. Let's see, try dating another lawyer. Sounds like a bad idea. Two lawyers in a relationship. That's like mutual assured destruction. Thanks so bad. A 2, yeah, okay, that sounds right. So this is the shyster lawyer that what we might call an ambulance chaser. You don't want to get into. All right. So after law school, let's see who you date.
9.
All right, 9. It's okay. So right after law school, what are we at? We're about 24, 25. They're still pretty young, so don't worry about it. So date somebody else in your mid-20s.
8.
8, all right. Well, again, you can do better than an 8. You've dated several better than an 8. You're not going to keep that 8. You're going to throw that 8 back. All right, we get to your late 20s, and your grandma's saying, why are you so choosy? You dated that nice boy in high school, and that nice boy in college.
5.
5, all right. She says, that's not a nice boy. Get rid of that one. All right, we get to our 30s. 4. All right. Now the biological clock is ticking, and she's not happy about it. So let's get to our mid to late 30s.
8.
All right. So she ends up with her soulmate using the formula. See, the formula works as I promised. And I'll say, I do this frequently, and a disproportionate number of times the student wins. Mathematically, they should only win about, a little bit more than a third of the time. I'd say the student wins this game when we play it about 70, 80% of the time. So I don't know what to do with that. Maybe Dave wants us to believe in that. The Pythagorean story. In any case, it works. Thank you for your help. You end up with your soulmate. What's not to like about that? All right. More reflections on this. What do you think?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like it makes sense, though, because if you think about it, most people probably date like 4 people or so, and then get serious about trying to find
Yeah, okay. I mean, we all know, maybe not we all know, but most of us know, in high school, you're probably not going to date the person you take to the prom, right? We all kind of know that. We're all kind of okay with that. And, freshman, sophomore year, at least early in college, most of us aren't trying to get curtains with the people we're hanging out with on the weekend. So we all kind of know, it's good to meet people. It's good to date. It's good to try things out to see what a good match might look like. But yeah. So we all kind of, I kind of feel like I intuitively did this, even though when I married, I didn't, I was not yet trained in logic, and I didn't know this formula.
I technically realize you can just get out and realize you know.
Okay, so one possibility is maybe we have more options. This game assumes 4 choices, and in reality, if you realize you dated somebody really great in high school, took somebody really great to prom, and maybe that was worth pursuing further. you can try calling them. This is the era of social media. You can find them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever crazy app your kids are using these days. And you can say, hey, we should have coffee. And of course, if you're lucky, they say, well, I'm free. And if you're not lucky, they say, I'm sorry, I've been married for 2 years.
What about, what if your best match is not their best match?
Well, one of the beauties of this is we are completely centered on you. Now, and according to the way we've stipulated this, this is someone who's willing to marry you. So it's a good enough match for them that they're willing to marry you, and it's your best match. But that is a troubling problem in general. Here's something really disturbing. There are probably 3 different people out there. There is the person who'd be best for you, who's probably a different match from the person you'd be best for, which is probably a different match from the person that you would choose and think of as your best from your subjective perception. It's not really knowing the full story of what's going to unfold the next few decades. And then there's probably the person who's sort of objectively, who you'd be objectively happiest with. So there's probably all sorts of things out there that, the person we can get isn't necessarily the person that would be best for us, and we're not necessarily the person who would be best for them. The world's messy. And right now, I just taught you a completely self-centered formula for maximizing. We're looking for your soulmate. If you're not their soulmate, oh well. I mean, presumably, if they're willing to marry you and if they're that good for you, hopefully you'll be good enough to them that they won't be unhappy in the situation. Any other observations here? I would say probably the most important lesson here is the very first sentence. It's important to calibrate your expectations to know what sort of relationships are out there and to have reasonably high standards. I'm not going to say, I don't really endorse, the sort of full-on artificial thing. You can't marry the person you meet in high school, something like that. But if you're going to marry the person you meet in high school, you know what you need to do? You need to date for a very long time. I know 2-3 people who are very happy marriages who married the person that they met in high school. They all have this in common. They dated for 5 to 7 years, and they didn't do a quick shotgun. Let's get married because senior prom is over. We don't know what we're doing after this summer, which is what they used to do in the 50s, 60s. And that's why there were a lot of divorces in the 70s, 80s. So what's important is to calibrate your expectations, know what kind of people are out there, and then have high expectations. All right, now here is something that I actually suggest. I think it's a mistake. I think that despite being a romantic, I think the soulmate myth, that there was one magic person out there out of the 6 billion, or is it now 7 billion, that you need to find and marry. I think that might be a recipe for unhappiness, for unrealistic expectations, for putting a lot of pressure on your relationship that you don't really need to put. So let me suggest a less romantic strategy for winning the marriage game. Maybe instead of thinking of trying to find the soulmate, the absolute best of all potential mates, maybe we ought to think of life this way. Maybe we ought to think of potential marital results as either a bad marriage, a mediocre marriage, and a happy marriage. And if you have a happy marriage with the second best person out of the 7 billion out there, guess what? You're probably pretty happy. So let's stipulate. Let's try this game again with some slightly different rules. On this scenario, we're slightly less attractive than the first scenario. In this scenario, we only have 10 potential suitors, not 11. So we're somewhat less good looking. And of these, 4 would result in a bad marriage, 3 would result in a mediocre marriage, and 3 would result in a happy marriage. How would we optimize our chances of success in the game, so to speak, the romantic game, with these rules? Well, I'm going to suggest a similar general strategy, but a slightly different interpretation of the results. So first, we're going to reject the first 30% of our 10 to calibrate our expectations. Like I said, we want to have some exposure to what's out there, and we want to have high expectations. But then we want to marry the next person we date who is at least as good as the best in the initial group. So what we're doing here is we're getting rid of the problem of meeting someone who's really great in high school, rejecting them because we're too young, and then forever pining over with them to be super high and realistic standards. So to represent this, I now, I use the hearts for the other scenario. So now I have a bunch of clubs with a few aces mixed in. Low clubs are bad marriages. High clubs are good marriages. High clubs are the medium marriages, the mediocre marriages. And the aces are happy marriages. Because what we want is to end up happy, right? Presumably. All right, so now I need another volunteer to play the scenario out with me. Come on up. Woo! Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're not. The math of that gets complicated very quickly. If you want to negotiate that, you're going to be a lawyer, maybe a litigator. Maybe you'll be able to negotiate that if you do so on, or maybe convince someone from negotiating that with you. All right, welcome. All right, so as we said, like last time, we've got you're going to date to reject the first three, break some hearts. We're going to calibrate our expectations, and then we're going to marry the next person who's at least as good as one of the first three. So let's see who you took to the prom. All right, what would you take to the prom? Oh, you took a wonderful person to the prom, but you said, guess what? We're too young. I don't really, we got to live life a little. Good luck. I wish you well.
Yeah, but doesn't that guarantee though that no matter who, the next person that I choose, because are there 4 aces in the deck or 3?
There's 3.
Okay.
So you can still lose. You can still lose. It's unlikely to lose the way I've set it up, but it's still possible. All right. So you're in college. Who do you date sort of early in college and reject? 10. Okay. So let's high mediocre. We used to say, we used to say perfect 10. So 10's not so bad, but still, it's college. You can probably do better. Not as nice as the person you were with in high school. The end of college, senior year, senior panic.
Great.
All right, so thank goodness we're ending that quickly. Now again, those of us who understand how the mechanics of the game would work, you're going to marry the next one you date who's at least as good as an ace. So this means you're going to marry an ace. You're going to get a happy marriage. It's just a question of when. So what are you going to do after college? Do you know?
Probably
all right, journalism. All right, so you're a high-powered professional out there. You date a 9. Again, not terrible, but you've got standards. You're not going to settle, and you're still young. So what happens in your mid-20s here? An 8. Okay, you're going the wrong direction. But this is actually something that happens. Is at a certain point, the available partners, they often say all the good ones are taken. There's a certain point where that's kind of true. A lot of the more desirable people who are open to marriage, committed at a certain point. All right, so here we are in our late 20s, and you met the ace in your late 20s. You get marital bliss, a happy relationship, and maybe that was the best person out of your pool. Maybe it was your second best. You'll never really know. In truth, thank you very much. In truth, one of the tricky things is I also think it's kind of foolish to talk about people as if there's only one component to what they're like. Like most people are compatible in some ways and not compatible in others. So it's really hard to say this one is in every way better than that one. Often it's the case, this one is better in these ways and that one is better than those ways. And of course, that really low quality person over there is worse in all ways than either of these two. So there's still bad matches, but good matches are really hard to rank. There you have it, the mathematical formula for meeting your soulmate and achieving wedded bliss. It's appropriate to applaud it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Now let's push on to something less fun, but a little bit fun. Well, to me at least, and important nevertheless. All right, let's start with some basic translations. We're going to teach you propositional logic, and propositional logic is what is the formal full-fledged logic system that is typically used by contemporary logicians. So I'm going to teach you some basics of contemporary propositional logic, and this will feel similar to the rules of the Aristotelian syllogisms that we learned in chapter 2. All right, so some basic things. Capital letters. All letters are a truth claim, something that can be true or false. So P, which stands for proposition, is a truth claim, and it can be something like I live in Paris, or I'm a philosopher, or my name is Pat. Squiggly P, that symbol I believe is called a tilde. I will use my nickname for it, a squiggly. Squiggly P is a denial of a truth claim. So it adds a negation, a not. So squiggly P, not P, means I do not live in Paris. I am not Pat. I am not a philosopher. That's what the squiggly approximate sign means. All right, third thing, and the third translation tool is the dot. Sometimes I'll use an asterisk for this. This is called a conjunction sign. And the strength of the conjunction sign is that it's the claim that both statements that it joins are both true. So P and Q means my name is Paul and I live in Quebec. And the and is only true if both are true. So if only one of the two are true, then the and is actually false. It's like somebody told me this meal comes with burger and fries. If it only comes with a burger, and they don't hand me fries, they lied to me. You need both. All right. The next, and now these are going to get a little more difficult. The wedge, sometimes I'll just use a V. The wedge is a disjunction sign, or. And for the or, the claim is at least one of these claims are true. So the or is true if one side is true, if the other side is true, or even, and this is what's unintuitive, even if both are true. This is called an inclusive or. So if I say I have peanut butter or jelly somewhere around the house, and I know exactly what I have. What I've said is true on this account if I find the peanut butter, if I find the jelly, or even if we've got both. So with or, it doesn't, normally in like common English or, usually it's an exclusive or, and we really mean only one of these is true. But that's not the way or works in logic. Or this is an inclusive or, it means at least one of these is true. And possibly both. All right. Next is a conditional. A conditional They're sometimes represented by an arrow. Your textbook likes to use like a sideways horseshoe. This is called a conditional claim or an if-then. And what the if-then claims, what the arrow claims, is anytime P is true, then Q must also be true. But here's what's a little bit confusing about the conditional. It makes no claim on what the value of Q will be when P is false. So if so the conditional is true if P and Q are both true. If P is true and Q is false, then the conditional claim is false. If I see you at lunch, I'll come sit with you, and we see each other at the dining hall, we meet each other's eyes, so we definitely, there's no mistake. And then I walk the other way, I have snubbed you and lied to you, and the claim is false. But if P is false, if I don't see you at the dining hall at all, then no lie has occurred. So in that case, anytime P is false, the arrow statement is true. So the default value of a conditional is true. It is true, except in the case where P is true, but Q is false. Yes, sir. Yeah, that would be a good one. I mean, again, it's it only works in one direction. So the one I always like is dogs and animals. If something is a dog, it must be an animal. So it always works that way. But it doesn't work in the opposite direction. If something's an animal, there's no guarantee it's going to be a dog. There are lots of animals that are not dogs. So yes. Now the third one on this this slide, the triple bar, sometimes is represented by a double arrow. And this is the claim that anytime that P is true, Q will also be true. And anytime that P is false, Q will also be false. So the idea is that P and Q, the values of P and Q will always match. So that is sometimes called an if and only if. So that's a stronger statement than an if-then. All right, now we will get into multiple parentheses. And this is where things will get complicated because we want to be able to parse truth claims that have as many components as we want. And to do that, we need to use paragraphs to clarify which claims go together. So these are three different truth claims that are the same in every way except where the one negation goes. So the first one says, if I'm Napoleon, then I live in Paris and not in Quebec. And you'll see the negation is on the Q and only Quebec is negated. On the second truth claim, if we put the negation outside the inner parenthesis, then it changed the meaning of the statement from, if I'm Napoleon, then it is not true that I live in both Paris and Quebec. So the negation on the parentheses is actually negating the and within the parentheses. And in the third case, what we are negating on the bottom case is we're negating the entirety of the statement, and the central final operator in the statement is the conditional arrow. So when we put the negation there, what it translates as is something like this. It is not the case That if I'm Napoleon, then I live in both Paris and Quebec. So 2 lessons from this slide. First, you always need to use parentheses when you have 2 or more statements to clarify the priority of which claims go together. So on any of these 3, you have to figure out the truth value of the P and Q statement before you then figure out the truth value of the N and the error. So that's one thing. The other thing is order matters. And the way you parse these, the way you pair letters together and the place you put negations matters a lot. And as we move forward in the class, I will show you lots of tips and tricks on understanding how to translate and such. But you know, that tilde, that negation, it's like a minus sign. If you put the minus sign in the wrong place in a long equation, it means something completely different. All right, so how do we know when translating from English to logic, how do we know where to put the parentheses? Well, here is a tip. You open parentheses anytime you see the words both, either, or if. And if you're translating from a complex or compound sentence, commas will mark sections that need to be grouped together with parentheses. So if A, then B and C tells you to group the B and C together, whereas if A then B, and also C, tells you to group the A and B together. Next principles are called commutation and association, which means order of these statement letters does not matter with and. So if I claim both A and B is true, that will always have the same set of truth values than if I say both B and A are true. So with some of them, order matters. With some others, order does not matter. With and, order does not matter. With arrow, the order matters. So with and, you can move, you can state that reversing them is equivalent, or if there's 3 letters connected by 2 ands, you can associate them in any way, you can change the order in any way, and it will not change the truth values of the statement. But order matters with if then. Claiming if something is a dog, then it is an animal, again, is not the same as claiming that if something is a dog. And there's also a principle called the contrapositive that's saying if D then A is equivalent by truth values as saying if not A, then not D. So to again use that with English. If you say if something is a dog, it must be an animal, is the same as saying logically if something is not an animal, then it cannot be a dog. I know I'm going through a lot of introductory principles quickly, and we will get lots of chances in the days ahead to tease these out. There's also something called De Morgan's principle, the idea that a negation outside an and or an or statement is logically the same as changing the and to an or the or to an and negating both halves of the components of the statement. So if I say, the top statement says, it is not the case that both A and B are true, which is another way of saying either A must be false or B must be false. The second statement says, neither A nor B is true, which is a way of saying A must be false and also B must be false, which is a stronger statement than the top statement. All right, we're not going to do clicker stuff today, but just to show one or two on how this works. Translate not both A and B. Not starts with a negation, so we're going to need a negation before we open a parentheses. Both tells us to open a parenthesis, and then we need an A and a B. So number 5 here is the proper translation of not both A and B. It means at least one must be false. And one more, and then I'll send you home. Both A and either B or C. Both tells us to open a parenthesis, and then A. So we're going to have an open parenthesis and it followed by an A. And tells us to use the asterisk, the and sign. Either tells us to open another parenthesis, and then we've got B or C. And number 3 is the proper translation of both A and either B or C. All right, at that point, have a good spring break. Thank you very much. Be safe. Don't get COVID. Go meet some wonderful people, get to know them, and reject them. What's that? I went to my, when we were dating, I went to my wife's 5-year high school reunion, and she grew up in this little part of Pennsylvania. And I was amazed that there were multiple people I met after our reunion that were not only already married, but they were already married and divorced. And I was just like, I'm from basically the New York suburbs of Jersey. The thought that anybody would be married right out of high school.
No, it's crazy because my family is all from New York City, and we moved to a little town in South Virginia. And I see all it on Facebook. I'm like, you're getting married already? You have kids already? I'm like, you just graduated last year.
Yeah, what's the rush?
I'm like, I gotta make sure I ate lunch today.
There you go. Much less be responsible for multiple children having lunch today.
Yeah, I was like, no. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great break.